Welcome to Small Business Big Visibility. We're talking about delegating. This is a whole mini series. If you haven't watched some of the previous episodes, go back and watch when we cover some great material. This is the first episode within that mini series on the actual nuts and bolts of how you're going to physically delegate to someone. And in this episode, we're talking specifically about the idea of expected results. Now, the first few times I delegated to someone, I hired some employees part-time. They were just coming in and doing a little bit of work for me. And I wouldn't always tell them what the expected result was. Now, looking back at that, I really can't believe that I was that naive. But at the same time, I was there, and I've talked to a lot of other business owners, and that's oftentimes the case. It's almost kind of like, I don't know if you ever played this game as a kid where it was not in my backyard and you divide an area up in half and you'd be on two separate teams and you're just lobbing the stuff over onto the other team's side. And at the time, you didn't ever know when the whistle was going to blow, but when the whistle blowed, whoever had more stuff on their half of the court was the losing team, and the one who had less stuff on their court was the winning team. That's kind of what I think it was like when I was first delegating. Is it's just like, lob this stuff out of my area. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to think about it. Here, you take care of this. Here, you deal with that. And when you don't tell them what they're supposed to be doing, could you imagine how frustrating that is from the employee's perspective? Like maybe they're coming in, they're all excited. I've got this brand new job. I'm going to go work for this guy. And the guy's like, okay, well, I really hope you'll just go and take care of some emails. And they're like, wait, what? I'm going to what? How do I do this? What am I doing? Please explain it to me. And they're like, oh, don't worry about it. Just go take care of those emails. That's a recipe for disaster. If you want to fire someone shortly after you hire them, that's what you do. You don't tell them what the expected result is. You just ask them to go take care of it. And what that's going to do is it's going to cause them to get frustrated. They're not going to know what to do. They're not going to know how to do it. And then they're just going to be like, well, I guess I'll just figure it out. And then they start trying to do it. And you come in later on and you're like, what are you doing? This isn't at all what I wanted you to do. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, you never told me what you wanted. And then the boss gets mad or you get mad because they didn't do it the right way. But if you'd taken the time to explain to them from the get-go, this is the desired result, then it's going to work. Let me give you an example about this because I really want to make sure that this is absolutely crystal clear, because if you don't do this step, everything else falls to pieces in delegating. Hiring employees doesn't work out right. You're just going to have a mess. You're constantly going to be putting on the Superman cape, flying in, saving the day, takes a ton of distraction out of what you're trying to accomplish. You feel frustrated because then there's the mess of you coming in to save the day. The employee's frustrated because you came in to save the day and ruined everything they were doing. And the employee's like, I'm not being supported in what I'm doing, so I might as well quit and go somewhere else. That's kind of the scenario of what happens if you don't get it right. So here's what you're going to do. When you're delegating, the number one thing you've got to do, and go back and watch the episode on this, you've got to figure out what it is that you're going to get rid of. If you already know, great. If you don't know and you think you know and you're hiring maybe a full-time person to do as your first hire, go back and watch the video where I debunk the idea you have to hire a full-time at first. Usually that's the wrong approach if you haven't delegated before. Anyway, so what you're going to do is you're going to get the job description. What is it I want them to do? And we're going to use the email inbox as an example. I've used it in previous videos. It makes a lot of sense. You as a business owner are terribly busy. I have a friend who runs a VA agency. She said, would you pay someone $100 or $300 an hour to check your email? Of course not. That would be insane. But if you are, let me know. I got some friends that might want the job. But if you're not going to pay someone $100 or $300 an hour to check your email, stop doing it yourself, because that's what your time's worth in the company. So you go out, you're like, okay, I'm going to have someone take care of my email inbox for me. In order to effectively do that, you have to, one, identify what the job is, and then two, explain what it looks like when they do the job right. So what does it look like when they do the job right in the email inbox? Well, I would say if someone were managing my email inbox, I would tell them, I want you to go into my email at least 3 times a day, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m., 12 o'clock, 4 p.m. And then when it's done, there's no emails left in the inbox. It's that simple. But you don't just throw them away. You have to deal with each one of the emails. If you don't know what to do, with one of the emails, what you're going to do is blah, 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 blah. Come to me, right? Put it in a folder, whatever that is. When the job's done, you've either addressed every email that came in by marking it spam, deleting it, the ones that are trash, responding to the ones you have to, and then the ones I have to deal with, you put in a folder, and then you let me know. Job's done. Once you've done that, now that everyone has clarity on what the job looks like, it's really easy for that employee to do the job right. Super easy. And you have clarity as well. You can easily step in and say, hey, you didn't do the job right today. I know you didn't check the email at 8 o'clock or at 12 o'clock. You only checked it at 2 o'clock. What's going on? That wasn't the job well done that we talked about. That wasn't the expected result of you managing the inbox. But if you don't give them the clarity on that, you can't ever hold them accountable because there was no accountability. The other side to that is, if you ever have to let an employee go, if you don't have clear expectations of what they're supposed to be doing, and you want to go fire them, what are you firing them for? They don't even know. And if they go back and say, oh yeah, there's just not enough work, the state's going to say, well, why'd they get fired? If you don't have it documented what the expectations were and that they weren't meeting those expectations, you've now got yourself into a legal mess because you weren't having clarity. But as soon as you add that layer of clarity in, it protects the employee, it protects you, it protects the business. Everything runs better because of the clarity.